And that's
why would I pick Spirit? Why would I even deal with it? Why would I even deal with it?
Yeah, I think to me their whole business practice is deceptive, because what happens is they allure you through the initial price. And so once they get you into their ecosystem, then they upsell you.
Welcome to the family office. Planning for the people who matter most.
Well, on a bad breath note here, this might be something that might save a lot of people from having to deal with bad breath, because I don't remember the last time you flew on Spirit Airlines, but I mean, you pretty much are sitting next to, or on top of the person that your seatmate, right? If it is a seatmate, right? But Spirit Airlines is cutting flights in 11 cities. Obviously, I think they're on the brink of bankruptcy. They've just filed for their second bankruptcy in a 12-month period. This could be a big problem for a lot of people, or is it just going to be absorbed by maybe Southwest or United, or will they get blocked again? Because, I mean, Biden's trade administration, I think it was the Biden trade administration, blocked Frontier from buying Spirit Airlines, but we could potentially see the absence of the disappearance of Spirit Airlines, which I believe is kind of almost like a cult classic, or like a generational classic amongst, for the last 20 years amongst low cost flight fares. So what's your perspective, Len, on the demise of Spirit Airlines? Did you see it coming? My wife says she saw it coming. She's not surprised, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've never flown on Spirit Airlines, not ever, not one time. And one of the reasons why is because I always heard of these horror stories about fights on the plane and getting nickel and dimed for all of the pieces of articles that you brought, whether it was a carry-on bag versus a checked-in luggage and all of those things. So because of that, I never flew on it. However, when I think about Spirit Airlines, I think about the fact that you've got to be able to keep in line with best practices in the industry. And so if you have deceptive prices on the front end and then you're upselling people on the back end, bad press goes 7 times faster than good press. And so they've always had a bad reputation for being a low budget, just bad, poorly run airline. Because if you look at Southwest, their whole mantra was, we're the low price leader. So you have 2 different airlines that both ran on this idea of low fares. And so, but what did Southwest do? You get 2 bags that fly free. They've changed that as of, I think, May of this year or May of the previous year. So they didn't do that. So going back to Spirit, now 11 cities are cut back. I think it's just a matter of time before they go bankrupt, because before we had TWA, they're no longer around, and you can just go down the litany of airlines that have failed because their margins are quite low. When you look at the jet fuel cost and the cost to feed people on the way, it's very hard to survive. So I think what's going to happen is Spirit Airlines is probably going to go out of business, and one of the other airlines is going to absorb them in and just take on their airlines and expand. And that's pretty much what's happening. So, within the next 20 or 30 years, I think there's only going to be, a handful or fewer airlines that exist because of what's happening. It's just a trend that's continuing to happen.
I mean, I'm just curious to know. I mean, the cities that are existing is just Albuquerque, Birmingham, Boise, Chattanooga, Columbia, Portland, Salt Lake, San Diego, Sacramento, San Jose. Obviously, budget friendly. But here's the thing: I compared Spirit Airlines just recently. I was doing flights, and I compared Spirit Airlines to like United, and that's kind of what we fly all the time. Okay. And it's actually not that big of a difference. So to me, I don't really understand. I can understand why they're in the situation they're in right now, because it's not that big of a difference when you factor in, like, for example, I think it was like for me to fly on United, it was like $20 more expensive to fly on United versus Spirit. And this is after I went through Spirit and I had to pay for my checked bag, because you only get a personal item, right? And then you got to pay for like a check bag or a carry-on bag and then a check bag and all that stuff. And then they even charge you to pick your seat. And by the time it was all said and done, I did economy to a regular, not basic economy, but economy on United, which you get a carry-on and you get a check for your first check bag. You can pick what seat you're in. I bought them both on Expedia, by the way. So buying both on Expedia, and by the time it was all said and done, I want to say it was like $10 to $15 more expensive for me to fly in United than it was in Spirit. I'll pay the $10 to $15, even if I'm multiplying it and I'm running, like, let's say for me, I'm running with a family of 7 kids. So I got to buy 10 flights. Let's say it's more expensive that's $150 more expensive for all of us to travel on United. And at least I'm on United.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's
why would I pick Spirit? Why would I even deal with it? Why would I even deal with it?
Yeah, I think to me, their whole business practice is deceptive, because what happens is they allure you through the initial price. And so once they get you into their ecosystem, then they upsell you. And I think what happens is that most travelers want to say, you know what? I need to know what my bottom line is, because if I'm traveling for business, that's one thing. Because if I'm doing a day trip to go, one state over and back, and I'm on an hour flight both ways, no big deal, because I'm not taking anything except for my personal item. No problem. But for a family of 4, or like in your case, there's 7, 8, 9 of you, depending upon how many of your kids you take, that makes a big difference. And so if you see a sticker price of $200 per person, but then when it's all said and done, you're at $390 per person for 6 people, that's upwards of almost $1,200. That's ridiculous. And so that's going to lead to a lot of ill will towards them as a company. So their branding has always been off. And because of that, because you can promote one thing as a company, but in the days now of social media, and you've got cameras that are filming. I can't tell you how many fights I've seen on a Spirit Airline, because people were attracted to the low price, and with that came a whole lot of challenges and problems. And I just don't think that they're going to be around for much longer, unless they decide to rebrand and to reconfigure how they're going to sell. Because at the end of the day, they need something like a loyalty type of a program, because I don't know if you heard or not, Frontier, they have some type of program where you can fly unlimited for like $5.99. Now, of course, you've got blackout dates and holidays and things like that, and you have to pay extra for luggage. But for a person who wanted to fly from Texas to California, let's say, and they got on Frontier and they knew that they were flying up and back for a day, that's a great deal. They need to do something out of the box like that if they want to survive, in my opinion.
That's a good way to raise short-term cash flow, right? Hey, $500 get you 24 flights or lifetime pass, right? Yep. Because you don't expect them to operate those flights. I mean, it's only costing you if you're hopping on a flight, right?
Exactly.
That's a kind of a good idea there. I wonder if they would do that I'm curious though as to, I think it's going to affect people. I really do, because everything is so expensive right now. I mean, buying a new car is outrageous. Renting a car is outrageous right now. Like, have you rented a car lately? Yeah.
Last week, he got a Hertz rental car last week.
Let me put you on this. Let me put you on. Don't ever do that. Get Turo. Do the Turo. The Turo is still, VRBO and Airbnb are balanced now, meaning, you remember back in the day, it used to be more advantageous to get an Airbnb or a Vrbo because it'd be cheaper than a hotel. And you'd be like, dude, I get a whole house, right? Nowadays, you look at a house and you look at a hotel room, they're very competitive now, right? The hotels are very competitive, and it's the same or more expensive now to Vrbo than Airbnb than it is to get a hotel. And then obviously you're not getting hotel services. But have you ever tried Turo? Because Turo, I don't ever Hertz, Avis, none of that shit no more. Sorry, crap no more. I don't do that crap no more.
Is that right?
I don't do that crap no more. I only Turo because the rental car companies are outrageous. outrageous. They ought to be ashamed of themselves how outrageous they are.
Yeah, he got that car and he paid an additional $25 a day just for insurance, bro. Per day.
You pay, the cost of insurance is built into the Turo. Like, it's so much easier the way they do it. And I get they could do it because it's a personal asset versus a corporate asset. But try it. I mean, and you get a nice car. So everywhere I go, I always rent like a Beamer or a Benz or something like that. You know, I get a Beamer so I understand how to slim it a little bit. You know.
You used to have one, didn't you?
No, you
that
did.
was my car choice for sure for a long time. So
you had that 7 Series for a long time. You had that 7 Series. But here's the thing: I do think it's gonna impact people a lot. I've flown Spirit Airlines. I remember when I was building back in a long time ago, over 10 years ago, in the trenches, and I was like, I had to get myself and my assistant, or I had myself, my wife, and my assistant. We had to get to a meeting in Florida. We flew Spirit. It was like $300 round trip for all three of us, baby. San Diego to Florida. I was like, can't compete with that. I just don't understand why, though, to prevent the jobs and to prevent the absorption of it, why it was blocked last year and it was not allowed, the merger wasn't allowed to happen. I mean, obviously, I haven't done research on that. I don't know if you have, but I just think it would have been a much easier thing to allow Frontier to buy them a couple of years ago or buy them last year, but it was blocked. And I almost feel like, why do we do these things to ourselves?
Yeah, I think the big issue, especially in the political environment back then, was more of this whole idea of companies consolidating, and therefore when you limit competition and companies consolidate, then prices tend to rise because you don't have any competitive you don't have any competitors to keep your prices low. And so I can understand that move. I just think in such a low margin industry and high cost industry, highly intensive cost, you need to find ways as a company to get more creative in the marketplace. I think, you're more of a libertarian. I'm an independent, but in this case, if they can't hang business wise, they need to go under. So innovate or go under. That's my take.
I just think that Frontier wanted it. Let them buy it. I don't think. I think it would have caused less of a disruption in the marketplace by allowing a more solvent, sound competitor. Which, by the way, I didn't even know Frontier was even that big to even be able to buy Spirit. It would have been so much less disruption in the marketplace. You wouldn't have had to worry about bankruptcies and the bankruptcy courts and selling the assets and flight channels. And now all these people, like, for example, all these people that rely on those flight routes, they're not there anymore, right? Like, if I was in that situation, that a move like that would have been so detrimental to me in business because I would have lost my livelihood. Like, for example, if this would have been the other way around, and this was back in like 2016, 17, 18, and those were the years that I was going back and forth to Colorado a lot. If this would have happened to Frontier, and because Frontier is based out of that, so I was always catch Frontier, a flight from Frontier to LAX. And it would cost me sometimes, Len, $30 round trip, $40 round trip, right? If this would have happened to Frontier like it's happening now, it probably would have killed me. Like, I would have, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. So I understand that. I get that. So I just think it would have been a less headache if they would have allowed a competitor in a free market to buy them versus now, because I think there's still a lot of competitors in the marketplace. Because what good is it? The competitor's out of business now. What do we do? What did we do by blocking them? Nothing.
Good point. Very good point.
Len, you got any closing thoughts on anything before we wrap up today?
Well, hopefully the folks will tune in to our next episode, because we're not coming to you from the perspective of tax preparers, but we are coming to you from the perspective of business owners that have, an LLC and have had S corps and have operated them. So we'll share with you what has worked for us. So we're not necessarily going to be giving you advice. So definitely tune back in. And there's so many things that are happening in our country right now. So we want to stay on top of that. We also want to always give you financial perspectives and health related perspectives. And so that's what you're going to expect on our channel here. And so we're going to continue to grow. As long as you keep tuning in, we're going to keep showing up, and we are going to show up regardless because of the fact fact that we enjoy what we do. We enjoy the conversations. And it's great to have opposing opinions and still be able to eat lunch with each other, hang out, and not hold each other hostage for our opposing views. And so with that being said, hey, Chris, another great episode. Is always good connecting with you, sir. And until next time, for those of you, please subscribe, and feel free to reach out and have comments if you want to share some of your thoughts and opinions. That being said, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Appreciate that.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.